The whole town was a nest of traitors. At the end, they had hidden the usurper in a brothel. What sort of king was that? Who would hide behind the skirts of women? Yet, whilst the search dragged on, Eddard Stark and host Tully came down upon the town with a rebel army. Bells and battle followed, and Robert emerged from his brothel with a blade in hand and almost slew Jon on the steps of the old sept that gave the town its name. The Thoughts of Jon Connington, A Dance with Dragons, Chapter 61, The Griffin Reborn. While Robert Baratheon was already winning and losing battles in the Stormlands and the Reach, Eddard Stark had managed to reach Winterfell after a long and perilous journey where he called his banners. Given the sheer size and low population density of the north, it would take several weeks for Lord Eddard Stark's bannermen to rally, with some closer to the neck, waiting to meet him on the march. Over the next few weeks, the Northmen marched south, through the neck, where they were joined by the Crannog men of House Reed, before finally reaching the Riverlands. Jon Arryn, too, had now gathered his full strength after securing Goldtown, setting out from the Gate of the Moon to join up with Eddard, his former ward. Together, they negotiated with Lord Hoster Tully, the Lord of Riverrun, for his support. Given the already close relationship between the houses, and Lord Tully's eldest daughter betrothed to Eddard's brother before he was killed by the Mad King, it made for an easy alliance. Thus, things were looking bleak for Aerys II and House Targaryen, as now they faced the full might of the North, the Vale, the Stormlands, and the Riverlands. With the Westerlands and Iron Islands yet to declare for either side, the numbers were starting to favour the rebels greatly, should they be able to form a single, huge army. Lord Jon Connington, the new hand of the king, would be much more proactive than his predecessor, Owen Merryweather, and he decided the best way to deal with the rebels was to face them in the field before they could create this single, unified army. He would lead a mighty army, mostly made up of men of the Crownlands, into the field, heading out from King's Landing towards the border of the Riverlands and the Reach, hoping to catch Robert before he could rally with his fellow rebels. As they set out, the army of Robert Baratheon was heading north, hoping to rally with the other rebel lords. The march from the Stormlands had been hard, with Robert's men taking losses at the Battle of Ashford, being run out of the Reach and Stormlands by the forces of Mace Tyrell, led by Randyll Tarly. Connington gave chase once they left King's Landing, and Robert's men, already tired, now faced an even more grueling march, with fresh men now on their tail. While recorded history does not tell us how, Robert Baratheon was wounded through unknown means. He eventually took refuge at Stony Sept, a large town south of Acorn Hall and west of the God's Eye, just inside the Riverlands. This town would become the site of one of the most important battles in the rebellion, becoming known in the pages of history as the Battle of the Bells. Not being too far behind Robert's army, Jon Connington took the town by force, knowing that Robert Baratheon hid somewhere within its walls. For reasons that are not wholly clear to us, the residents of Stony Sept were actively trying to help Robert, even though Connington and his men could easily put them all to death for conspiring with a traitor to the crown. A long and drawn-out search ensued, with Connington's men conducting a door-to-door sweep of the entire town several times over. Robert Baratheon could still not be found. Using his power as hand of the king, he offered the townsfolk pardons for hiding the Stromlord or for any information regarding his whereabouts. But still, no man or woman came forward. He then offered huge rewards for information, but still, no one entertained this idea. Finally, the hand resorted to threats. Connington took several hostages from among the townsfolk and placed them in crow cages hung around the town square, but still, not a single member of the townfolk of Stony Sept stepped forward to offer information. Despite all his efforts, Robert Baratheon could not be found, despite the fact Connington knew he was somewhere close and in reach. The townsfolk had kept Robert moving from location to location within the town as Connington's men were conducting their searches, meaning they could look in the same place twice and still not find the Stromlord. Thanks to accounts of the men who were at Stony Sept, we know that the last of these hiding places was an inn and a brothel called the Peach, located on the eastern side of the town in its main market square. It is believed that one of the whores who was working at the Peach became a favourite of Robert whilst he hid within the inn, with him supposedly fathering a bastard daughter on her named Bella. Battle began very suddenly when Lord Eddard Stark and Lord Hoster Tully arrived with a rebel army intent on rescuing Robert. Somehow, word must have reached the rebel lords that Robert was alive and well inside of the town and was in need of rescue. The rebels charged into the town from multiple directions. Soldiers from both sides fought in the streets and alleys, and even on the rooftops. As the streets turned red with blood, the Septons inside the Sept rang the bells to warn the residents to lock their doors and stay inside. What would become known as the Battle of the Bells was fierce and the most brutal battle of the war thus far, with it sometimes appearing more like a huge street brawl. When the leaders of the armies came face to face, Jon Connington did manage to wound Lord Hoster Tully and kill Jon Arryn's cousin and heir, Sir Denys Arryn. At the sound of the bells, Robert Baratheon emerged from the Peach with a sword in hand. Robert is said to have slain 6 men that day in a bloody rage, including Prince Rhaegar's friend and former squire, Sir Miles Mouton. Some accounts of the battle say that Robert Baratheon and Jon Connington did not meet on the battlefield, while some others suggest that Jon was nearly slain by Robert on the steps of the town's Sept. Regardless, Jon realised the battle was lost and retreated back to King's Landing. Robert, in the wake of the battle, and even years later maintained that Eddard Stark won that battle for him, and without Eddard, it was only a matter of time till Connington eventually found Robert. Suspicious of the loss at Stony Sept, King Aerys II Targaryen exiled Jon Connington, stripping him of his titles. Aerys now had begun to realise that Robert Baratheon was the greatest threat to his dynasty since Daemon I Blackfyre, and he named Lord Carlton Chestald as Hand in Connington's stead and tasked him to deal with Robert. Sir Jonathan Darry and Sir Barristan Selmy of the Kingsguard were sent to rally what was left of Connington's men, while their Lord Commander Sir Gerald Hightower was sent by King Aerys to try and find the missing Prince Rhaegar. The Crown Prince did eventually return from the south and convinced his father to ask Tywin Lannister for help. It was also around this time that Aerys commanded his alchemists to place caches of wildfire in multiple locations around King's Landing, which he could ignite in the event that King's Landing fell to the rebels.